He must be removed before the council meets.
The Emperor suspects nothing.
Picture this. It's 1814. Napoleon's enormous empire, which once had all of Europe in its grip, is crumbling. It's on the brink of total collapse. After a string of just catastrophic defeats, the unthinkable has happened. Allied armies are marching right through the streets of Paris. And while the emperor is scrambling to save his throne, the entire fate of France is actually being decided by one man, his very own chief diplomat. And that brings us to the heart of the matter, to this one man, Charles Maurice de Talleyrand Perigord. So what was he? A self-serving traitor who stabbed his emperor in the back for his own gain? Or was he a patriot with incredible foresight who had to commit treason to save his country from complete and utter destruction? Let's dig in and look at the evidence. Okay, first up, let's look at it from the prosecutor's point of view. The case for treason is, well, it's incredibly strong. And it's not just based on one single act, but on a long pattern of deception. Now, what's so wild about this is that Talleyrand's betrayal wasn't some last-minute panic move. No, he started to believe that Napoleon's crazy ambition was a threat to France way back in 1805. So from that point on, while he's still a top official, he starts playing this incredibly dangerous game of intrigue, actively working behind the scenes to undermine his own boss's grand plans. I mean, the evidence is pretty damning. Talleyrand didn't just disagree with Napoleon's policies. He actively sabotaged him from the inside. We're talking about massive bribes from Austria and Russia, turning state secrets into a personal payday. He was sharing military plans. He even secretly told Tsar Alexander to stand up to Napoleon at their famous meeting in Erfurt. This wasn't just having a different opinion. This was a calculated, sustained campaign of betrayal. And Napoleon's own feelings? Oh, they were crystal clear. When he finally figured out just how deep the plots went, his rage was legendary. He confronted Talleyrand in public and just let him have it, with this famous insult. He even threatened to break him like a glass, but then decided it wasn't worth the trouble. And you know what? That little misjudgment would end up costing him everything. And all of this leads to the final act. With the Allies in Paris, Talleyrand pulls off a political coup with just breathtaking speed. On April 1st, he sets up a provisional government. Just one day later, he gets the Senate, the very same body that had served Napoleon for years, to officially kick him out. And here's the kicker. When Napoleon tries to save his dynasty by abdicating in favor of his son, it's already too late. Talleyrand had already convinced the Allies that the only way to get stability was to get rid of the Bonapartes for good. You have to admire the chess game here. The government he put together was a masterclass in political strategy. This wasn't just a simple power grab. It was this carefully built coalition designed to look totally legitimate. He brought in a marshal for military credibility, a guy to represent liberal interests, another to ease the return of the old monarchy. Every single piece was perfectly placed to make sure power shifted away from Napoleon smoothly and, legally. So the evidence for treason seems pretty overwhelming, right? An open and shut case. But now, let's hear the case for the defense. Is it possible that these acts of betrayal were actually acts of incredible patriotism? The entire defense really rests on this one core idea. Talleyrand saw Napoleon not as the savior of France, but as its eventual destroyer. He truly believed the emperor's endless need for conquest and glory was gonna bleed France dry, leading to constant war and, in the end, the nation's total ruin. So for him, the goal wasn't to destroy Napoleon, but to save France from Napoleon. When you boil it all down, at the heart of this whole conflict were two goals that just could not coexist. Napoleon was playing to save his empire, his dynasty, his total control. But Talleyrand, he was playing a completely different game. He wanted to save the nation of France, lock in its borders, and create a lasting peace through a stable balance of power in Europe. And to pull this off, Talleyrand came up with this brilliant diplomatic concept, legitimacy. His argument was simple but genius. He told the Allies, look, your war was with one guy, Napoleon, not with France itself. By bringing back the legitimate king, Louis XVIII, an idea that all the other kings and queens of Europe could get behind, they could treat France not as a conquered enemy that needed to be punished, but as a liberated partner in building a new, stable continent. And this principle of legitimacy, this one idea, became the key to Talleyrand's greatest achievement. And it didn't happen in Paris, but at the negotiating table, where the entire future of Europe was about to be decided. So when the Congress of Vienna gets together to redraw the map of Europe, France is in a really weak spot. The Big Four, that's Britain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, they planned to make all the big decisions themselves. They were basically treating France like an outcast that had to sit in the corner. But Talleyrand immediately goes on the attack. When they hand him a document that talks about the Allied powers, he just fires back with this devastatingly logical question. He basically says, wait, the alliance was against Napoleon, and he's gone. Peace has been made with France, so who exactly are you still allied against? With that one sentence, he just blew up the legal basis for shutting him out and forced them to deal with him. And pretty soon, the perfect opportunity just fell into his lap. A huge fight breaks out among the Big Four. Russia and Prussia cooked up a deal. Russia gets all of Poland, and Prussia just swallows the entire Kingdom of Saxony. Well, this power grab absolutely terrified Austria and Britain, who saw it as a huge threat to the balance of power in Europe. Talleyrand seized this moment. He saw the crack in their alliance and immediately offered Austria and Britain the one thing they needed to stand up to the others, the military backing of France. On January 3, 1815, he signs a secret treaty, creating a whole new defensive alliance. Think about that. Just months after being their mortal enemy, France was now their military partner. The effect was like a political earthquake. This secret treaty completely shattered the old anti-French coalition. France wasn't the defeated enemy stuck outside the room anymore. No, it was now a key player, an essential partner in this new concert of Europe. And the actual results of his diplomacy were just stunning. In the First Treaty of Paris, which Talleyrand negotiated, France was restored to its 1792 borders. This means it was actually bigger than it was before the revolution started. And even more incredible, France didn't have to pay any war reparations. For a defeated nation, that is a truly unbelievable outcome. So, we've seen the case for treason, and we've seen the case for patriotism. How is history supposed to judge a man this complex, this contradictory? Well, in the end, he was all of these things at the same time. He absolutely was a traitor to his emperor. He was corrupt, lining his own pockets with bribes. But he also used his incredible, once-in-a-generation skills to save France from being carved up by its enemies and helped build a peace that prevented another massive continent-wide war for generations. Which leaves us with a final, really difficult question. Talleyrand's story forces us to ask if the lines between treason and patriotism can sometimes get blurry. Can betraying one person, even an emperor you swore an oath to, be the only way to save the very nation you both claim to serve? That is the complicated, fascinating legacy of Charles Maurice de Talleyrand.